Yes, you do. I say, all the days of my life. My soul, you will die. Give up everything for me. All the days of my life. I pray. I'll never cease to pray. Good afternoon and welcome. Good morning and welcome. Good evening and welcome, depending on where you are joining us from. This is PENSDOWN. On PENSDOWN, we get journalists to put down their regular working tools and then talk to us, the travails, the exciting moments, the ups and downs as they go about producing and gathering the news for your consumption. Today, I have a very interesting guest. I call him my brother because he is. He's a very popular name within the sports journalism circles in Ghana. He's done quite some work in sports journalism. His name is Fiifi Anaman, and he's a Ghanaian journalist whose works has featured in the BBC, ESPN, FIFA, The Telegraph, Supersport, Go.com, Business Insider, and Pulse Ghana, among others. In 2015, he received an award for Best Column from the International Sports Press Association, AIPS, after having been highly commended in sports reporting at the 2015 CNN Multi-Choice African Awards. As a broadcaster, he has presented well-known productions like Sports Extra, the 2018 FIFA World Cup, and Football 360. He works as a consultant on writing Ghanaian football history for many organizations, and also serving as the founding project lead of the Ghana Football Awards. Born in Kumasi and living in Accra, Fiifi is an alumnus of the prestigious Achimota School and the University of Ghana. He is passionate about seeking and sharing the message of the kingdom of God. And for me, that last part is everything. My brother, you are welcome.
Thank you very much, Nana. Thanks for having me on your show. I've been a long time admirer of yours. I'm sure you know.
Oh, yes. I remember well before you joined the journalism fraternity, there were a number of times we spoke. I think that you were trying to gather your notes.
I was an avid reader of your articles, and through him, I got to know you. And since then, I've been a very big fan of yours. So it's a privilege be on the same platform to be interviewed by you. I'm very glad.
Really honored. Let's look at Fiifi and sports. You know, before you came into mainstream journalism, we had a number of conversations before that. And for me, my thinking was that you were looking at becoming some political journalist or some general news reporter. How did this, diversion, let me put it that way, into sports journalism all start?
Well, sports journalism started with an idea to merge what I had experienced from people as it being my talent, which is writing. Right? A lot of people, since I was a young boy, since I was about 9 years old, I used to write, and a lot of people used to tell my dad that this guy would, grow up to write big things, and because he has an interest in writing, he writes really well. So ever since I was young, I knew I would have something to do with writing, but not writing about football, even though football was my passion. So it was around 2012 when I was out of Achimota School that I just had an idea. I really love football and I love writing as well. So why don't I merge the two? So I started doing research about football writing, and then I realized that it was something that I was interested in. So I decided to dive in there and then. So that was how that whole idea started. I was never really drawn to doing political journalism because I felt that I lacked the depth, to be able to go into it. Because and I knew that my interest was in sport, and then my knowledge too was in sport. I knew a lot about sports, so I thought if I go there, I'll have much more substance than I would have had if I was into mainstream journalism. So to speak.
So to you, coming into sports journalism meant that turning your hobby into a source of livelihood, more or less.
Exactly.
Wow. Who were the people within the fraternity that helped you to, upon entry? Of course, sports journalism has a lot of big names, veterans and legends. Who were some of the people already in the field that assisted you to make some sort of a successful entry into the terrain and also give you a compass with which to navigate?
I would first mention Kent Mensah, because he was editor of go.com Ghana when I started. And I remember sending him an email. I was 18 out of Achimota, and I told him I wanted to write about football pro bono.
Yeah.
I remember using the expression pro bono because I just really loved it. I didn't really know the full extent of what it meant, but I knew it had something to do with being for free, right? So I wrote to him, and then I was very anxious about the response, but he responded really well. He said that he had read my blog, which I set up a blog initially, just so I could have a sort of portfolio going into searching for an opportunity. So I gave him my blog. He looked at it and said that you have what it takes to become a fine football journalist. This were his exact words, a fine football journalist. I will never forget.
Prophetic.
Yeah, prophetic. So I'll always remember that particular interaction with Kent Mensah. And he was so kind. I remember first thing he asked me to do was to do an article on, I believe it was the 5 Ghana Premier League players who can succeed in Europe. And I remember immediately digging into research because, around that time, I wasn't really into local football. Growing up, I was into local football. But then because of the advent of, pay TV and everything, focus shifted to the Liverpools and the Man Uniteds and stuff like that. So when he asked me to do something on local football, I got a bit nervous because I had, had a long hiatus from it. So I had to quickly go back and research, and then it took me some time, but I was able to come through. He gave me more assignments, and as time went on, I became a part of the go.com Ghana team.
Wow. So it is convenient to say that you cut your teeth in sports journalism under the tutelage of Senior Kent Mensah.
Senior Kent Mensah, that's exactly right. And he taught me a lot too about, grammar, about construction, so many things. You write something and he will critique it for you, and it was a really, really, really interesting learning curve. And what I love about Kent is how down to earth he is. He's so down to earth, and so approachable, and loves to teach people. And I learned a whole lot from him. And up to today, I don't know if I'll meet any teacher as down to earth as Kent was. To me, yes.
I think for me, I'm not surprised. I know a number of people that he wholeheartedly opened his doors to, and today they found their feet and have become even bigger than him, more or less. Yes.
Definitely.
So who else would you want to talk about or mention as having helped you?
I would also mention at this point Gabriel Smith. He has been instrumental in my career. Gary was the it thing, if I can call him that way. He was like the big guy on social media when I was starting out. Of course, there was Michael Luthier, but Gary was doing more of the African football stuff. He was doing more of the digital content stuff, and a lot more of the others were doing TV and radio. But Gary was king on the internet, and I was also seeking to be like that, seeking to be a content provider on the internet. So I got in touch with Gary. Initially, I thought he was a white man residing in Ghana, and I discovered that he was Ghanaian.
Gary is a full-blooded
he wasn't showing his face, right? And Gary was a bit anonymous, but he was very effective. It was like a content machine, and I admired him a lot. So we exchanged some messages on Twitter and over email. And I remember first time I met him was, I think, 1st June 2012. Ghana was playing Lesotho in Kumasi. It was a World Cup qualifier, I believe.
Okay.
We won 7-0. Yes, wow. I remember that game very well. I met Gary at the Kumasi Sports Stadium, and that was one of the best days of my life because Gary was a hero to me. You know, we met, he gave me advice, he told me all his, you know, his tricks, you know, that he uses, you know, in the industry, and he gave me a lot of encouragement as well. And I remember when I went into Legon, I was trying to decide where to specialize in. And one night, I decided to specialize in Ghanaian football. This was at the time where my appetite was really high. Yeah. And then I texted Gary about it. And I told Gary, I want to focus on Ghanaian football because I feel like there's a gap, right? At that time, everyone was doing European football online, especially the Ghanaian journalists. I thought if I can specialize in providing content or information on Ghanaian football online, I could carve a niche. And Gary was like, go for it. And that was how I started. And in fact, that was how come I got all the opportunities, the early career opportunities that I got. So I owe Gary a lot for his guidance, for his guidance, for his molding of my talent, and for all his advice and, you know, his mentorship as well.
Okay, so outside the field of sports journalism, or rather journalism generally, let's say from family to friends and the rest, were there some people that encouraged you, or even those who discouraged you, or rather said you wouldn't make it? I mean,
well, I would mention you as well. Of course, you've been a big inspiration with regards to writing. Like I said, reading your articles in Africa Watch, I always imagine myself writing as well as you wrote. Yes, and I always imagine how it would feel. See my byline in a continent-wide publication. Sure. You know, it was something I never got to have, but I really aspired to that level. Outside of sports journalism, there were not a lot of people. I would say, of course, family supported me.
Okay.
Initially, when I started, you know, it was like,
you were not sure which direction you were headed.
Yes, what direction I was I was headed towards. I remember I used to spend a lot on going to stadia and, you know, stuff like that. And for like, hey, Fiifi, no, Sunny, not per ball, you know.
That's right.
And, you know, there was a bit of, you know, I grew up in Audi, but
that's right.
I think when it started getting serious and I was getting opportunities, everyone was like, hey, Fiifi is really taking this serious. And I remember when I started out, I had a lot of fire, right? Because it was at the peak of my passion for football. And I was also developing my writing, and I was getting better at a very fast pace.
Okay.
So I remember my first professional article was published on the 3rd of August, 2012. That was the first time I had an article published. Yeah. And by 2015, I had won an international award. So it was
in 3 years?
Yes, in 3 years. It was a very fast-paced journey that even surprised me because I was very focused and I was very hungry. You know, I wonder if I have that same hunger again. I wonder where it went. But I think about that a lot and I find that very interesting. Maybe it was just youthful exuberance.
But it was well translated into the craft.
Yes, definitely. I did a lot of research. I always wanted to learn new things about the craft. I was talking to people. I was reading a lot. And, you know, I just had a voracious appetite for knowledge at that point. And I was getting better and better each day. And I was sort of galloping along
sometimes hitting the top can make you dizzy, and sometimes also take you off the goal.
Yes, I think so.
For personal reasons, I did a lot of monitoring. I monitored you a lot from the backstage. I wanted to be sure. There were people I talked to about you, wanted to understand your kind of human relations and all. And it looked like you. It didn't get to a point where things got into your heads. How were you keeping your human relations away from all the dizzying credentials that you were building for yourself in the craft?
I think I've always been a very down-to-earth person. But when I was young, I was very, I was giddy giddy, as we say in G. Like I was very, wild as a child. Growing up, I sort of mellowed a bit. I sort of mellowed a bit, and I think in terms of humility, this is not to blow my own horn, but it's something that it comes naturally to me, and I find it hard even projecting myself. People who know me on social media know, and a lot of people have advised me, Fiifi, you don't promote yourself enough. Fiifi, you don't do this enough. And I find it hard just being in people's faces. And we'll come to that conversation in a bit. It's one of the reasons why I walked away from TV after a while.
Okay.
Because it's tough for me doing something and feeling that I don't have the substance down pat, right? If I feel like my substance is not up there, I walk out and I try and better myself, and I try and make sure that I am doing the right thing, and I'm very intense in the way I approach things. So I tend to be very hard on myself. I'm very, very, very hard on myself. And I believe that's one of the reasons why. Exactly. Very, very messy. In fact, I remember after after I won the award in Abu Dhabi, for a whole month, I was depressed, and I wasn't going out. I wasn't talking to people because I did a lot of introspection, and I had a crisis as to whether I deserved the honor or not. And it took me to finally accept, especially from at that point, I wasn't too much into my faith, right? I hadn't grown spiritually enough, so I didn't really understand what was happening around me, and so it was hard for me to understand how things had happened so fast. I had gotten to write for ESPN, for the Telegraph, for Go.com, for SuperSport, and all of these big opportunities. Now there's an award, and so where do you go from here? And I remember when I started out, I used to tell myself I would be writing about sports for a very long time because sports is my passion. I love sports and I love writing, and I'll never grow out of touch. And as we are speaking right now, it's not something that is the same, right? My interest has evolved so much that I don't remember the last time I watched 90 minutes of an entire game. I mean, I still love football, but my interests are evolving. And sometimes it's hard. And I recently saw a tweet from a colleague of mine, Daniel Odru, a sports journalist. He talked about how we should be more forgiving of ourselves if our interests evolve and we are not interested in the same things anymore. Sometimes you feel like you are a fraud or you are an imposter when things change, right? You used to do something so well, and all of a sudden you want to do something else, and people are like, why are you not doing this? You are so good at it, and you are so, everybody expects you to toe a certain line, but deep within you, you know that it's not the same. And in my case, it has been a case of, where do I go from here? I know that I love writing. I know that my interest in sports writing is not as strong as it used to be. So where do I go from here? It's a work in progress. But in the public eye, people are so expectant of us, right? That they wouldn't understand why you have such credentials and you have a difficulty continuing in that part, because opportunities will come to you because of what you've achieved, and all doors are opening. But so why don't you want to continue? You understand? But it's a hard conversation, and I'm glad I'm I'm able to open up about it today. I've had it with a few people close to me.
What about television? What about television made you begin to take the back bench, made you begin to retreat a bit. What about it?
I think I never thought I would end up on TV. That's one. I always thought I would be the byline kind of guy.
Yeah.
And I'll tell the story of my TV entry. This was around 2017. I was doing my national service as Pulse Ghana.
Okay.
Right. And my boss, and this is somebody I forgot to mention who has shaped my journalism career. He's called Godfred Akotobafo.
I know him.
I respect him a lot. Yes. Godfred is perhaps one of the most knowledgeable guys I've ever come across.
He used to be with City.
Yes, he used to be. In fact, still with City on the morning show.
Right.
Godfred had a show on Pulse. And then one time he had to do the show in the studio at the Pulse premises, but he wasn't around. I think he had gone out for a meeting or something. Yeah. And then he asked me to sit in for him. It was like a video show, and I was very uncomfortable being in front of the camera. So I remember that day I was very nervous, and I would later sort of find out that he had done that to sort of test me, because we had conversations about my nervousness and stuff like that. He really wanted to push
he actually put you as a cook to test.
Yes, to test me.
I see.
Yes, and then so from there, he handed me his show. He thought I had done well, so he handed me his show to do, and then I did a show.
He thought you had done well. He thought I had done well. That you have been at your worst.
Yes, I thought I had been at my. In fact,
now I am beginning to see yours was not merciless self-criticism. It was actually looking down on your own performance.
Yes. I'll tell you something. There was a time at Pulse where Stoneboy came in for an interview, and Akoto with Godfred asked me to interview Stoneboy, and I never understood why. But he said, Fiifi, you are the guy for this. People see things about people that those people don't see about themselves. And I'm sure this is a common theme. And it happened to me as well. He said I should go and interview Stoneboy. So I went in very nervous, did my research, had the interview, and Stoneboy told me he was one of the most interesting. His exact word was, "This is a very deep interview." That's what he told me. And I was very shocked. And I remember having another interview with another athlete called Kwesy who had come into Pulse. And he also said to me that it was one of the best interviews that he had. And he wonders where I trained as like a TV person or a video person. And I was just sort of struggling to
reconcile the two things.
Yeah, exactly.
You feeling you've not done well, and somebody praising you,
praising me for something that I think that I'm not good at, or something I think I may never be good at, because I know that my strength is writing. And so it was like that. So that's how my TV career started. It started with internet TV.
Okay.
So
live
after service,
on Facebook.
Live streaming on Facebook, yes.
Okay.
And I a lot of people used to tell me, you should be on TV, you should do this, you should. But I still wasn't convinced, even after all of these, encouragements and stuff like that.
Talking about that, let me pull the brakes there. How did you manage the fame? One of the setbacks of any progressive career is the mismanagement of the fame that comes with it along the line.
Yes.
How were you able, because a lot of people were talking to you, sometimes even under a comment on your post, which is unrelated to something, somebody will drop an advice. I think you should be on this. I think you should be on this.
Yes.
How did you manage this fame and the millions of self-imposed counselors or self-appointed counselors that erupted to, see you do things their way?
Well, I always, like I said, I've even find it hard responding to compliment.
Okay.
And it's one of the reasons why and if you've noticed, I've not even been on social media for about 7 months now, about 6 months. I'm rarely on social media. And it's because of things like this. Like, I find it difficult to manage relationships because of some of these things, right? Like I said, I'm a very intense person. So when you tell me something, I think about it a lot, and I get nervous and anxious about how to respond to it.
Oh,
you understand?
Okay.
So my solution to it is to withdraw. I know it's not the best. It's not the best, but I'm still a work in progress, right? In terms of managing plaudits.
That's right.
And I think it contributed to one of the reasons why it was easy for me to just walk away. And I walked away September 2020 in the midst of COVID. I didn't tell anybody anything. Even my work colleagues didn't know that I was quitting. I just walked away quietly, and then that was it. I decided to stay away from TV for a while. A lot of people have been telling me.
It was your problem TV, or your problem was the sports journalism generally? Let's put things in context.
My problem. I don't think I can describe it as a problem with something. It has to do with myself, right? I think that, and I put something like that out on Facebook some time back about me feeling like sometimes I'm a contradiction. Like people say I am good on the front lines, but I feel comfortable behind the scenes, right? But a lot of people say, Fiifi, you deserve to be here, and I'm saying I have to be here. So a lot of people see this, I see that, and I don't know how to reconcile the two. So it's difficult for me to move forward. You understand? Because obviously, if somebody is seeing something good about you, there's something there to develop. It can't always be about what you think about yourself. Because
but in journalism, the best broadcasters have print background.
That's true.
Have you realized that? Has that ever occurred to you? The best of broadcasters in journalism have a solid background in print journalism.
Background in print, yeah.
So I think maybe for those who might have followed journalists and their practice for long, they might be seeing that, yes, it's about time you transition to the screens or to the radio or something like that.
Yes. I'll tell you an interesting story. Another person who shaped my career, Auta. My former boss at AE Media. After he hired me, I remember a question he asked me that I will never forget. He asked me, how is my presentation style like? Meaning he had never seen me present anything, and he took a chance on me just because he had seen me write well. And you see, again, these are some of the things that gets me thinking. A lot of people seem to believe so much in me, but I don't what they
see. So for you, that question from him was pitting you against who you are. Was that
it was strange for me because we had done negotiations and everything. Me thinking that he had seen me online and he was interested in, not knowing he just really liked me and he thought this guy will be good on TV. You know how somebody can identify a diamond in the rough? Because he's a veteran of TV. He has done TV for a long time and he can spot if someone can be good on TV. So he just saw me and thought this guy is going to be good on TV. And true to his words, after I did 2018, 2019, 2020. After about 3 years, a lot of people were saying, you are very good on TV, you are this, you are that, you are that. But I always had an internal conflict. I wonder what is going on. What is God trying to do with me? Everybody is saying I am good.
We are still trying to position your difficulty in the context of the practice properly. Now, was it the case that you at a point realized after getting on TV that you are almost abandoning your first love in journalism, which was print, which is what made you uncomfortable?
Yes, that was initial. That was the initial feeling. Because after my first year on TV, I had only done one article. In fact, I've averaged only one article a year since I started doing TV. And I felt like an imposter. Yes, I wrote an article about it in 2019, I believe it was, that I felt like I had abandoned writing. And writing had given me a lot. But it was so difficult.
Your writings were very deep and lengthy. So it took time to build them.
It took time. took time. Some of them took like 6 months. Some of them took like a year of research and stuff like that. But still, I still felt like I could be doing more. But I found the combination of writing and TV very difficult because I'm somebody who finds it hard to multitask. Another thing about me, yes, I'm very intense. When I'm concentrating on something, I give it my all, and it drains me. Yes, it drains me. So I was giving TV everything, and it was tough to juggle both. So at the point I was like, you know what? Let me step. In fact, I stepped aside from TV. One of the reasons I stepped aside was I had an offer to consult for a foundation.
Okay.
Yes, and the foundation required that I may have to travel at a certain point. And you know, once you're on TV, you are expected to be on TV every Sunday night. So what if I was traveling and I couldn't make it? So that was one of the reasons why I had to give up the TV. But I was more comfortable giving it up because it was more of unloading a burden of me, because it was this burden I had had for many months about whether I'm good enough for this TV thing. Everybody is saying it, but I'm not seeing it yet. And I remember a lot of my friends used to tell me that you may not be seeing the full picture, but it's part of like a plan of God for your life. Maybe you have to be on TV for the next phase of your life. But I was still finding it difficult to understand why there are so many, you know, people saying you are good, but you yourself cannot see that you are doing enough. It was a tough time for me. Yes.
So once you ventured into TV, fulfillment professionally left you.
In the initial month, it was like a new experience. So it was fulfilling, yes, because I was learning. Yes, I was learning how to comport myself in front of the camera, you know, learning how to banish the nervousness and the anxiety. So all these challenges made it worthwhile. But after I settled in my stride, I was still finding it hard, you know, like, am I supposed to be here? Is this my calling? Is this my, but everybody else was like, this guy is supposed to be there. I really am. Even children, you know, would tell their parents, the people. I remember there was this 13-year-old boy who brought his entire family to the studio once to come and watch me. Stuff like I'm Miss Hero, and all of these things were confusing for me because I was like, I think I'm not doing anything, and everybody seems to, you know, be encouraging me, and you know, so it was this confusion.
After one Black Stars match, I think a Nations Cup match, one man went to gift the daughter to Junior Agogo. I don't know if you remember that.
Yes.
I am seeing your scenario as a
Yes. And
they actually came to sit in the studio to watch you live. No screen.
Yes.
Wow.
A lot of things happened. And I think family and friends too, everybody was excited to have me on as a TV personality because, of course, the thought of having a popular a cousin, yes, you know. But I don't think a lot of people knew about the struggle, right? A lot of people thought I was into it and I was enjoying it. And you know the stereotypes that come with being on TV, that, oh, you are getting a lot of money, one.
That's right.
And then you are getting a lot of female attention, too.
Sure.
And all of this other stuff.
Right.
A lot of, but it wasn't like that for me. It was a very weird experience. I just saw it as something that
I can't get over this family invasion thing. I mean, that was a different experience altogether.
Yes. It was, but it was an interesting experience. I wouldn't lie about it. And I think that in the future, I will return to TV. It's just the difficulty, like you said, of reconciling everything. That was hard for me. And somebody says something about life is lived forward and is understood backwards, right? Yes, as at this point, it will be hard for me to tell you everything in full because I'm still living it. I'm still experiencing it.
Wow.
But I can only move forward and look back and say, oh, so this was why this was happening. This was why I was on TV, to get this opportunity or to meet this person or to prepare me for this level of my life. But whilst I was going through it, it was tough. Yes.
Okay. You are still live on PENSDOWN. It's a platform for journalists to tell their story. I mean, they keep telling the stories of others. When are we going to have time for them to tell their own story? So I have decided that this platform is for them. They put down their tools and then they talk to us. That is why we call it PENSDOWN. I have some messages, some comments under our live stream. Eddie Ame is a colleague of mine.
Yes, I know him
currently. Yes, he says Fiifi is a great journalist. I wish he stayed in the profession a little longer. Some people are already missing you. And he also said that Kent Mensah has mentored a lot of young journalists. He's a great mentor. In fact, for Kent, I think this is a recurring desma. This kind of comment about him is a recurring desma. You know, he seems to have given his all to so many people, and through his tutelage, a lot of people have easily settled in the craft. And then Portia Go, she's screaming your name, Fiifi. That is
yes, Portia is a friend of mine. So
sure. I know her. She's screaming your name. I'm sure she also misses you on the screens, the same screen that you are running away from. Fee, let's talk about something. One issue with journalism in Ghana is the challenge with remuneration.
Yes.
A lot of people, you know, thankfully, I think for you had a mixed bag of Ghanaian platforms and foreign ones.
Yeah.
Having worked with about 3 foreign platforms, New Africa Watch, and the Africa Report, what I know, I don't know if it was the same with you, was that you were always like a writer on schedule or a freelance something. You write as you get published, you get paid. But in Ghana, where was there a place you got a full-time offer, and how good was the condition, or what were the conditions attached? When I had interaction with Eddie Ame, he told me for his first year as correspondent for the Twin Ashanti region, he did not receive a PESWA, a salary.
Wow. Yes. I started at go.com, and at that point, they were setting up.
Okay.
They didn't have a huge budget for a team. So it was just a few people on payroll, and most of us were interns.
Okay.
Right. So at go.com, I wasn't paid, but I and my other colleagues, Sammy Frimpong, Yao Frimpong, who is one of the best sports writers in Ghana. I should give him a shout out at this point. He was part of the team. There was Joshua.
But I think even at go.com, if you were paid like a staff, it would have gone against your own proposition. You said pro bono.
Yes. Pro bono, yes. I asked Ryan pro bono. So that was it. My first paid job was with allsports.com.gh, and it was Gary who introduced me to All Sports. It was owned by a company called Ringier Ghana. Ringier Ghana is a subsidiary of Ringier AG, a Swiss media company. Right. So they own Pulse now. Now, they were paying me 200 cedis at that point a month.
Which year was that?
This was in 2012.
2012.
That was my first year in Legon. I was very excited because
you were a student. First year in Legon.
First year in Legon, and I was earning 200
Interesting. Cedis. This same 200 cedis. Another colleague that spoke with me, Samuel Oswefiye, he said in 2013, with a diploma and degree plus 10 years experience, he was taking 200.
Wow.
So
in
your
2013.
bread was well buttered. Yes, your bread was well buttered.
Yes. Now that you're mentioning it, I believe that I was very lucky at that point, because I don't know why. And I'll tell you something even more mind-blowing about my story. Like I said, some of the things that have happened in my career have been frighteningly interesting, if that's even an expression.
Yeah.
So I was being paid 200 cedis for 3 months I did 200 cities for 3 months and I got exhausted. I was writing like 10 stories a day, 12 stories a day as a student. And I thought I couldn't continue. And I'm somebody who burns out easily. Like I said, I'm very intense. When I go in, I just burn out. So I got burnt out and I told management that, you know what, I want to finish school and then come back.
Okay.
And the management called me in for a meeting and then said they cannot let me go because they feel like I'm an asset to them.
Oh wow.
And I said, no, I had to finish school. So they were like, so how much should we pay you so that you can stay with us? So at that point, I knew that I couldn't do the work. So I wanted to put like a huge figure so that they will leave me alone. They will say that you're a small. I was like 2012. I was very young. I was like 18, 19. So I said 1,000 cedis.
Okay.
So they were like, when can you start? So
they said they will pay 1,000 in 2012.
Yeah, they said I'm telling you, they said they will pay me 1,000 cedis. At that point, at 18, 19. So I panicked. And I said, I have to go out and make a call. So they allowed me to go out and make a call. And I spoke to my mom. And I told my mom that I just quoted a figure. I was trying to fend them off. And they are saying that they want to, I don't know what to do. And she said I should just calm down. Just go and talk to them. And whatever happens, I should let them know. So I went back in and I said, you know what, the 1,000, I was joking. It's 1,000, there's 1,002 or nothing. And they were like, okay, so you start on Monday. 1,002 it is. I'm like, wow.
So after speaking with your mom, you went in with an increment in mind.
Increment in mind. And it's not even that
and they still fell for it.
They still fell for it. And they were like, wow. So like I said, again, people seeing things in you that you seem not to see about it. So that has been my story all along. And it has been a very, it's almost strange to, it's only
special divine favor.
Yes, I would describe it. That's the only way to describe it. Because some of it has been just mind blowing. So they took me on as this young person earning 1,200 as a sports writer, and of course there were challenges that came with that, obviously, because people got to know that I was earning that much, and you're a small boy. And
some politics we did.
Yeah, so
exactly.
a bit of that as well.
Right.
So finally, I left that job in 2014 to finish school. So that has been my history with pay.
Now I want to push you to the wall for an answer to this question. When are you coming back? Everybody, including myself, we all miss you. When are you coming back?
Okay, so here's the thing, right? I'm in transition. I'm still figuring out the best way to reinvent myself. Like I said, I may not be your hardcore reporter anymore. I don't see myself as such. I think a lot of my colleagues are doing that really well. When I go online, I see a lot of my colleagues and even younger colleagues do.
That's right.
Yeah, hardcore reporting, and I respect them for that. But I cannot do that. And so I'm trying to figure out a way of coming out which will suit me in a niche, right? Okay. And that is going to take a bit of time. And that has taken a bit of time, in fact. So I would say soon. But as the definition of this,
1 month, 2 months, 3 years,
well,
5 years.
Soon could mean 2022. Soon could mean 2022 because in fact, I've been researching for a book project for a year now. Yes. And so obviously next year I'm looking forward to bringing out some of the things that I've been working on.
Okay.
And so, maybe off the back of that, I can come back and yes. But it's all in the hands of
you took a different discipline in school, that is in terms of the academic program you did. You don't have like a professional training in journalism.
No, I studied
to observe things like the ethical boundaries. There are ethical principles in the profession. How were you able to bring yourself to be able to learn, accept, and also let the ethical injunctions necessary in the practice, in the line of duty, reflect in the work you do?
Well, I would give a lot of credit to people who have mentored me: Kent, Gary, Godfred, Nutifafa, George Patrick Bediakon, another person who's been an inspiration to me. And one of my former bosses. In fact, George was one of the guys who took me through rigorous ethical, training. Yes, at all sports. Yes, so I've been lucky to work under these people who wouldn't accept work that is substandard. And there are times where I would write something that I was so sure that it was it, and they would say, "No, Fiifi, this is not how you write it." And I'll be like, "Actually, are you sure?" Like, yeah, this is not how you write it. And then I'll have to accept. You understand? So that has been the journey. I've had to learn on the job. And I think that has been more fascinating for me because I've always been an adventurous person. I'm not really academic in nature, and perhaps that's one of the reasons why I've not been attracted to doing a master's anytime soon, because I feel like there's more adventure in figuring things out as you go along, and then using that experience to come into academia rather than using academia to go into the field. That has always been my idea. Yes.
2015, you were on the CNN African Journalist Award nomination list.
Yes.
You were 3 years old in the profession.
Yes.
How did that come to you? Who broke the news to you? And I mean, did you file at what point did you decide to file the nomination? Let me put it that way.
Okay.
And when did you get the news that you've been shortlisted?
All right. So I had first, initially, like I said, a lot of people used to tell me that my work was really good. This was early in my career, so I always had this, and I like I told you earlier, I wonder if I still have that same ambition. But I used to be very ambitious back then. This was 2012, 2013, and I wanted to enter places, unafraid, young man coming up and stuff like that. Yet to see the complications of life. So I first tried in 2014 and I was unsuccessful. And then 2015, I actually decided to do one article. And that article, the purpose for doing that article was to get onto the CNN.
Oh, okay. So you actually planned and prepared for it. That was the case. I think we are losing his connection there. The program is PENSDOWN. We talk to journalists. We try to understand their journey, the things they went through, the challenges, the high times, the low moment, the ups and downs, and what exactly is it that confronts them in the line of duty. If you are with us and you haven't subscribed to the channel, kindly hit the red button and then the bell beside us will activate it so that anytime we are live, you can join us for us to have a conversation together. We seem to have lost the connection on Fiifi's line. We'll try and bring him back to continue with this discussion. Things were getting really interesting. Welcome back. We are in a conversation on my journalism journey with Fiifi Anaman. He's been able to rejoin us. We were having an exciting time with him, trying to understand his journalism journey. This is PENSDOWN. As I said, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, be sure to do that. Click on the button, and then anytime we are live, you'll be notified. Welcome back, my brother.
Okay, thank you very much. Sorry, I think I had a problem with my device.
Yeah.
Yes, so I was talking about how I had
written. So you were saying there's
article.
an article you purposely did.
Yes,
to gain
yes, I
entry.
purposely did for the CNN list. Okay. Yes, because I wanted to set a challenge for myself to see if I could reach that level.
Okay.
And so I wrote the article. It was called Ghana's Neglected Football Stars. It was about the amputee national team. They recently won the AFCON. Yes, that challenge. And so I wrote that article, and after I finished writing that article, in fact, during the process of writing, after the process of writing, I knew that there was something about that article. And I knew that this one was going to be it. I just knew. Yeah. But it was a very long wait, you know, many months trying to wait for the call to come out, you know, for the for the lists and everything. Yeah. And then I remember one time I was on campus, and then I had gone to eat banku. I was in Legon Hall. So I was eating my banku, and then I got a call. Yeah. I believe it was. And then the person said his name was Peter Kitson from CNN. Wow. And that, am I free to have a chat? And I'm like, yes. So at this point, my heart was racing. And he was like, you know, I have been nominated for the Sports Reporting Award, but I need not inform people because they are now informing the nominees, and he just wanted to congratulate me and stuff like that. And I remember I left my banku.
Definitely, you forget even what you were doing.
I forgot, and I was mind blown, and it all came to me how I was in. I think I was in my fourth year. I was in my fourth year, yes, in Legon, and I was being nominated for a CNN award. And you know, I had followed the awards for some years. Even when I wasn't really interested in journalism, like I would read stories about it. When Israeli won it, when you know the Zimbabwean journalist Hopewell Rugo, yes, you know, all of these titans. Yeah. So it was almost as if, wow, this can't be happening. And so I would later find out that when we went to the awards, they were calling me the baby of the awards, because everyone was that this young guy is part of us. All the journalists were like, how come this guy is part of us? You know, it was this real sense of surprise for them to find out that I was in their midst. And I remember at one of the programs, I just distanced myself from everyone and just went to shed tears. The tears were just rolling down my face because like I said, I was very ambitious. So for me, it was like, yeah, I've gotten here because I set myself a target and I'm here. But it hit me that, you know what, this is not a usual thing. This is something that is very rare, right? It just hit me that I had underestimated the whole thing. Right, that people spend most of their careers wanting to get to that platform and they never get there, and you are just there, and then you are not seeing the significance of it. So I remember just shedding tears and people coming around me, encouraging me that, you know, I have a bright future and I shouldn't feel like I don't deserve to be here and stuff like that. It was a whole mess that evening, but
so definitely
but I had
the
a lot of people
of you being a baby of the awards was right.
Yes. And I went with Thomas, who is the current BBC correspondent in Ghana. He was very helpful to me as well. And Thomas used to call me to his hotel room and he used to advise me, Fiifi, don't be shy, don't be afraid, just go and socialize with people. This is a big opportunity. Because I was almost frozen, right? Like I said, before we went, I was all confident. Yes, I've gotten here, you know, but when we got there, I was very humble. So even socializing with people, getting to be a part of the event, being confident around, I found it very difficult because I found myself being out of place, right? Exactly. In front of all of these journalists. But it was a good experience. I remember my mom and my brother also came to support. I ended up not winning on the night, but it was such a beautiful experience. And I think after our year group, there was another award in 2016, and then CNN discontinued the award. So that was so I was lucky to have been a part of this whole experience.
Real providence. Real providence.
Yes, it was providence, divine providence, definitely, definitely.
Wow.
But little did I know that an even perhaps bigger experience was about to happen just a few months later with the AIPS award.
Yeah.
Yes, that was a similar story. I was on Legon campus when I received an email that I had been nominated. Not eating. This time I was in we're in the exam period.
Okay.
So I was in a group study when I received an email that I was being considered. So I should send my travel details and everything. And then later I found out that the email had vanished from my inbox. So I'm like, if you are before, and I said, so I searched and searched for that email. I couldn't find it. And then I was very nervous about it until they made a public announcement that I was finally part of the nominees. So that calmed me down a bit. And then
was it that you might have deleted it out of excitement or something?
It actually vanished and came back. I don't know how that happened. And I remember one of the persons who had been nominated as well was my colleague Juliet Bewa. So I asked Juliet to send me her version of the email so that I could send them the details directly, because I still hadn't found my email. So after I sent them my details, that was when the email reappeared in my inbox.
Oh, well.
That was a very interesting experience.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
But I saw the list and I was up against, journalists from CNN, New York Times. And so I was like, this one, dear. It's even a privilege because it's worldwide. And it's a privilege to have made it this far. So I was telling my colleagues at school that this year has been overwhelming enough. So I'm very glad to God. I'm very glad, that I've gotten this far. Not knowing that I was going to make it to the top 3. So I was one time at around Legon Hospital, returning from town back to campus. Yeah, and then I got an email that I had been chosen as one of the top 3 and I would be traveling to Abu Dhabi.
Globally.
That was globally. Wow. And like I said, all my life, I've only traveled twice, out of the country. And both of them happen to have been for awards.
Fully sponsored.
Fully sponsored.
Wow.
Yes. So, and since then, I've not traveled again. It's been a very, like I said, my journey has been very, anytime I recount it and I tell it, I still marvel at some of the things that I've been through. Now, that Abu Dhabi experience was amazing. I was the first to arrive and the last to leave by some divine, again, providence, because they made a mistake with my booking. So I was the first to, when I got there, nobody was there. Wow. And then when I was leaving, everybody had left too. So I got to spend the most time in Abu Dhabi.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
Wow.
And then they put me in business class. That was my second time traveling. I was in business class. And I was put in a 5-star hotel at the Jumeirah at Etihad Towers.
That's right.
It was just like an unreal experience, just meeting all these journalists.
Your story looks like you've been helpless in playing God's scripts for yourself.
Yes. It was just playing out. And yes, I saw, everybody's story is different and where they've come from and what they've experienced. And I don't expect everybody's story to be like mine. But I look back on what I've achieved, and it's hard for me not to trust in God. It's very hard for me. Of course, I've had moments where it's been difficult for me to understand the ways of God. But the baseline has always been, I trust God. And I know that things will eventually work out. Even now that I'm speaking to you, like I told you, I'm in a bit of a career transition where it's hard for me to tell people exactly what I'm doing and where I'm going. But I still know that I am heading towards something that God has prepared for me. So that trust has always been there. Even when, I remember during the CNN thing, during the Abu Dhabi thing, I would have described myself as being estranged from my Christian faith. I mean, I was at that point where, and a lot of family members will attest to this, where I used to think that, well, there's a God, but what about Muslims? What about Hindus? What about this? So I trust in God, right?
Yeah.
So I sort of lost my Christian faith a bit.
Yeah.
But it was in the aftermath of all of that I rediscovered. It took me many years of being quiet and being prepared to finally rediscover my faith in God. And obviously, this year has been very challenging. This around June, I was admitted to the hospital for about 3 weeks. Yeah, I fell ill. It's one of the reasons why I've been off social media for a while.
Oh, I see.
It's been a tough year. It's been a tough year for me in terms of my health, in terms of even my faith in God.
Yeah.
But I still believe. Yes, I still believe that things will work out in the end. So I believe that my story has been.
What is the most enduring moment that you had in your career? The period. How many years did you practice? Like 6 years? Is it up to 6 years?
Yes. I still believe I'm practicing because I've been writing articles. I still see myself as a journalist. So let's say next year will be 10 years in journalism.
Right.
Next year will be my 10th year.
So what has been the most enduring moment? The most enduring moment? That single activity that has left an imprint on you in the line of duty?
I think, this, I wouldn't describe it as a moment. I would describe them as a series of moments.
Okay.
Right? Getting to write long form articles. Yes, those have been my most enduring moments because those ones are so fulfilling for me because it takes months of preparation and to finally be able to flesh out a story. And this was something I started learning at Pulse in 2016. I think my first long form was an article called Abeku Jackson is all action. That was my first story. Yeah, it was my first long form. It was Godfred Akoto who tasked me with writing that, and I'll give him a lot of credit for developing that side of me. And since then, I've been doing a series of long form articles that have given me a lot of fulfillment. In fact, nothing gives me more fulfillment in life, in the secular world,
that's right,
than writing a long form article. I think that gives me more fulfillment. That has given me more fulfillment than being on TV, more fulfillment than writing stories, more fulfillment than going to stadia, So those have been the most enduring moments for me. Just
how did you get to write for? How did you get to write for the Telegraph and BBC and all those things? Did you solicit or they came in unsolicited?
So I Telegraph, I was just there and I received an email saying that would I be interested in being their Ghana writer for the World Cup? Just like that.
I think you shared it on Facebook.
Yes, I shared it on Facebook. You remember? Yes, I shared it on Facebook. Yes. I was just there and then it came. And then for ESPN, I was told that I had been recommended, highly recommended. Those were the words by their Africa correspondent, then Fedos Munda.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think Gary also played a role in recommending me as well for ESPN.
Those are some of the selfless people in their craft.
Yes, definitely. And then for Super Sport, Gary also hooked me up to Super Sport. He gave me an opportunity. For Go.com, it was Kent Mensah. So it has been a mixed bag of people just seeing that you are worth taking a chance on and just bringing you on board. And some of it has just been amazing because a lot of these people gave me opportunity not knowing who I was. I mean, if you see my headshot from the Telegraph, then you would even laugh. I was this young guy. They didn't know who I was. They just gave me an opportunity. And I'm sure a lot of sports journalists in the country were wondering, where from this guy? But I was also thinking, how did I get this opportunity? But that was just God at work.
I think it's been exciting. You've had quite some useful conversation here. For me, I have filled in certain blanks I had, which I needed to fill very desperately. I must thank you for this time. We are truly grateful for the opportunity to have had this conversation with you. And we look forward to your full return. Although you still say, yes, you are still here, we look forward to that, full-time return so that we can properly enjoy the write-ups, the pieces, and all the, the stories you have to share with the world.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, my brother.
Thank you so much, Nana. Thanks for having me. God bless you.
You're welcome.